Antoine, it's just incredible. We're going into week 3.
Week 3, and the news for today is that there's been a fourth ransom note, a demand for information that TMZ received. Kendra, you can probably roll a little bit about some video while we let everybody know what's going on. So here's what we know so far this morning, Lisa. TMZ making a statement, posting on their website that they've received the fourth note. It appears to be from the same sender that sent at least 3 earlier emails with the same Bitcoin account used in previous demands for payment in exchange for information. This time, Lisa, they went in a different direction. Harvey Levin, whom you know very well, they posted on the website a message directly to the sender saying, if you, the sender, are legitimate, share the information on Nancy Guthrie's whereabouts so that we, TMZ, can pass this information along to the TMZ. Let's pause for a second and pick that apart, because all of their comments that TMZ have received, all of this communication from this person that they've identified, they said the same account number, all of that keeps coming to them. TMZ has been telling us that they've been passing this information on to the authorities, to the FBI, Pima County investigators as well. So now by saying, well, if you are legit, you keep reaching out to us, tell us what you know so that we can
Right.
pass this along, like that, because it's now, as you pointed out, this is the 3rd week. Nancy Guthrie, 84, was reported missing. She was last seen January 31st. She was reported missing the next day. Her families keep going after trauma, after just heartbreaking 1 minute
Excruciating
excruciating
pain.
pain
Roller coaster, too.
of all of that. So now what we're looking at right now, just to let everyone know, now
Okay.
this is from the weekend. There was some searching and some detaining that happened of persons, but no arrests were made. This is all part of the investigation, as you know, following up on leads. And one of the things that also happened this weekend is that an SUV was confiscated from a parking lot of a restaurant nearby. But again, the information coming out was that there were no arrests in this. And going back to the ransom note, TMZ actually putting out information. We have part of the interview, if you will, with Harvey Levin, where he was explaining some of the contents that were in that email. And Kendra, if you can roll that, we can go ahead and play it.
I know what I saw 5 days ago south of the border, and I was told to shut up, so I know who he is, and that was definitely Nancy with them.
I mean, that just Nancy with them. Who's them?
Exactly. With them, and just a lot of information. But again, TMZ, from what they've been telling us, they've been getting it, putting it on, putting it where it needs to go. But you kind of understand their step a little bit. And I was reading the website before I came over, just to make sure. But they are like, look, you keep coming to us, we're going right to the FBI, right to investigators. If you keep coming to us again, then just tell us what you know. The goal is to
Right.
try to get 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie home. It's been, what, the 3rd week
We're
now?
starting the 3rd week.
And then on top of all of that, the Guthrie family still clinging to hope, still, sharing and expressing a belief, a sincere belief that their mother is still out there. Savannah Guthrie, this weekend on Saturday, posting another video, an appeal to, thank you, Kendra, an appeal to whomever has her mother, or they believe is, just saying it's never too late to do the right thing and just release her. It's tough to listen to, but Kendra, if you would go ahead and
Let's listen to a little bit, please.
Has her or knows where she is. That it's never too late. And you're not lost or alone. And it is never too late to do the right thing. And we are here. We believe.
Lisa, I don't even know where you find the levels of strength for, to even post something like that. This is at least the 3rd effort that she herself has made trying to appeal, trying to plea. Let's just say what it is, trying to essentially beg for her mother to be brought back and to return home. This was released, that most recent post coming on Saturday night, again, 2 weeks since Nancy Guthrie was last seen on the 31st and reported missing the next day.
You see her face. I mean, we're so used to seeing her on TV and
We can
in
say it
public life, and
fully made
she
up
right, and
and
she
on
looks like
camera
she's
ready.
which she is a living hell, probably the worst weeks of her entire life that she's going through. Her mother, and then unable to do anything. It just seemed everybody that feeling of powerlessness
Hmm.
has got to be so hard. And I mean, Antoine, people are following this very, very
Hmm.
closely. So everybody's putting in their own parent, their own mother, their own, parent or grandparent in the situation, going like, if this can happen to her with all the resources that she has available, that they've
Right.
made available, with all the clout that she has, what about just the average person? There's just so many questions about this. But what do you've been covering this
Mm-hmm.
pretty much every day for us here at Fox 5 New York and Fox Local. What are some of the questions that just really are still plaguing you?
Well, I think the video, Kendra showed the one with the black and white with the, yep, that one right there. So we know that the investigators are waiting for test results on at least one glove that was found about 2.5 miles from Nancy Guthrie's home in Tucson. And I think we're all waiting to see, because officials say there was DNA that they recovered from the glove. They say that it matched, one that was seen in the door cam videos. They're trying to get that out. So I think the journalist curiosity, one of the avenues, that's being fueled to answer you, Lisa, is that I'm just genuinely curious and waiting to see what that's going to show. Because one of the other things that's coming out is that, and even with us, everyone has a thought. Whether it's journalism like what we're doing, or just the people like you just pointed out who are just trying to figure out where this 84-year-old woman has mysteriously vanished and is,
And
regardless of who her daughter or her children are. You've
right.
got a missing senior citizen with health issues, like that. So I'm just genuinely curious to see what that DNA is going to show. We know the investigators received thousands of tips that they're following up on. They again interviewed several people over the weekend. No one was arrested, but they are doing the police work, trying to find it. But it's just right now a mystery. And the other thing they're also trying to confront and combat: misinformation.
Oh yeah.
Misinformation that's out there, because this can throw an investigation off into different directions, which you well know, like that. So they have to try to corral misinformation, while trying to put out true information, to whether it's to us, whether it's putting a flyer in a 7-Eleven, but just trying to get up more leads. So if they keep going back to the neighbor's house and the residence, if they keep going around, they're widening the grid search. They are absolutely trying to exhaust every possible avenue. And the reward for information also went up. It's now at $100,000. They're taking this very seriously.
Which still seems like a low amount. A lot of people have said to me, that because everybody's bringing this up everywhere I go,
Right.
this is what people are talking about, is that just seems like a very low amount. But we want to point out to people too, the DNA evidence. This hopefully will open some doors investigatively, because the DNA we had at one point, it was allowed in
Mhm.
to see the Office of the City Medical Examiner, the DNA testing that they use in crime cases and for victims. And they have what they call touch DNA.
Touch
We
DNA.
typically think of DNA as saliva or body fluids, that type
Mhm.
of thing. But just from somebody, they solved one case with the NYPD of a mugger had grabbed a man by the back of his coat, threw him down on the ground, and just with that touch DNA, they were able to track him down. And he had done it before, but they were able to get that. So hopefully the DNA, and then this vehicle that they found in the parking lot, that's kind of still a mystery, right?
Still trying to get more information on it. It was a gray SUV. I believe it was a Range Rover, but definitely an SUV. And we saw them, carting it onto the back of a truck to be taken away, to be processed. Could have something, could be something, but there was something genuinely of interest to the investigators that they took it into custody, confiscated it into their possession over the weekend. And, we're still waiting for that to happen as well. In addition to all of that, you've got multiple layers of communication that needs to happen, that they're trying to, make sure happens, because of the number of law enforcement agencies that have now been added to the search. The Department of Public Safety, DPS, is now in, because we're talking about the roadways. It's close, whether it's Arizona, wherever it is, it's close. There are concerns about the proximity to the border, what that could look like, by way of a possible avenue for someone to try to escape, prosecution or being brought in. So it's just, there are a lot of moving pieces, with this, and again, just trying to get information out to lead to an arrest or the recovery, the return, of Nancy Guthrie. So they doubled the reward. There are, questions about, thoughts on why it seems low, as
Right.
opposed to some of the players involved,
Absolutely.
in this, meaning just the people that are, impacted directly by that. But ultimately, right now, the information coming from authorities is that no lead is too small. We want every lead that you can. They're trying to vet it to make sure it's legit, because the bottom line is they're trying to get Nancy Guthrie back to her family.
And Antoine, the thing, I keep coming back to this, and so do when we're talking with law enforcement, as you are too, that are commentators and former law enforcement investigators, and they'll say, like, this isn't your typical kidnapping where somebody was seen snatched up off the street, where that was on some video surveillance, where they have a look at the vehicle of where the person got. We still don't have, and maybe they have more information, let's hope, than what the public knows, but we know Nancy Guthrie's not in the house, because otherwise it would have been case closed. She's not in the house. How did she, how was she taken out of the house? Where was she taken? What vehicle was she brought in? What kind of, what were those next steps? We don't have that kind of narrative. Hopefully law enforcement is piecing that together in some kind of way. But the other thing too is this whole ransom note business just seems so sketchy.
It's asking, just to share with everybody, TMZ is saying, and officials have confirmed that at least in the fourth note, and at least one of the earlier ones, one Bitcoin, the amount of one Bitcoin, which last week was trading between $66,000 and $67,000 US dollars, that one of the notes said, asked specifically for that amount in exchange for information. So this, again, the fourth note, according to TMZ, where a Bitcoin account has been mentioned, TMZ saying on their website, thank you, Kendra, saying on their website that they went, it's the same account number, it matches. They gave the earlier notes to authorities, so they're doing the same with this. But again, reaching out directly on their website to the person who keeps reaching out to them. Tell us where she is so that we can pass this information along.
Right.
Like that.
Because it just, at a certain point, it seems like they're playing games. It's just like a publicity game or a money grab
Well, that's
by
part of
some tangential person or some person that maybe knew one of the people, involved with this.
Well, according to TMZ, what Harvey is reading right there, in that, the note in this one claims to have information on a person that the note, the sender says had someone with him. And according to what TMZ says, that person, in their words, identified the person with the perpetrator, if you will, as being Nancy. So that's what this fourth note is saying, that you see Harvey Levin reading right there, with that. But again, just to share with all of our audience that's watching right now, this is the fourth one that was received by TMZ this morning. They put the information out, and again, appealing directly to whomever the sender is, saying, whatever you know, tell us. We'll pass it along to the FBI, and doing that. Again, asking for a Bitcoin amount and going into a little bit more detail, about some incidents that happened last week. But to your point, one of the other conversations coming up, not just in our newsroom, but among the many conversations associated, why keep going to TMZ? Unless you're looking for attention,
right?
Or something like that.
Well, this is it, because the investigators have all said, and I know they've said similar things to you, is that a kidnapping, they don't want it to drag out for weeks. They don't want national TV and international attention on it. They contact the family or whoever is the main entity there, whether it's a company or business or whatever, within 24 to 36 hours of that person being taken or gone missing. And they make their demands directly to somebody connected with them, usually a parent or other family member.
Right.
And then they want to get the money and get out. They're not equipped to handle, have a person day after, taking care of a person day after day after day. So I think that's another huge question, is just there was never an urgent call right away. We have your mother, we have your mother, she's here. We have your mother, and this is what it's going to take to get her. Give us the Bitcoin, give us the whatever, and then just this these notes, these messages to TMZ demanding Bitcoin, and investigators have to be frustrated
They
too.
have to be
I think.
frustrated. They also have to take everything seriously until they have a reason to not take it
Right.
seriously. So that means vetting this note and the three others. Some had been sent to television stations in and around the Tucson area. There were reports of that as well. So there's a lot of determining, the legitimacy, the validating of stuff, a lot of determining corroborating information and things like this, especially to your point, when the eyes that are on this case, following it along, continue to grow. The eyes
Right.
continue to get bigger. And then not just within our borders, to your other point, this has now
Right.
become
International.
international news, with that. And it's speaking to a lot, something you said earlier. A lot of people are examining or re-examining personal relationships, whether it's within this industry or even outside. People in my building who know what we do and for a living as a career, on the elevator, one of my neighbors was like just talking about how they've checked in with their own parents,
Right.
a little bit more. So I just think just the what we know as far as just the main demographics, an 84-year-old woman is missing. Authorities said taken against her will, and her family is dealing with a loss that all of us we should never have to deal with under any circumstance, like that. But it's kind of hard to not be an empath, in this situation.
No, absolutely. Antoine, I want to thank you so much for the excellent reporting as always, and for spending time with us here on Newsroom Live and breaking it all down for us. We appreciate it.